Okay, I want to do a video here about timing. I had asked a question, and I was actually using my book here. I was talking about timing, the secrets of the Lenormand Oracle by Sylvie Steinbach. And what I had done here is, I know she does mention, if it doesn't make sense to do it again in there. And I thought, well, let me see what I can come up with. I went ahead and shuffle my cards up and I spread them out. Normally I'll cut my deck, but I wanted to try this method. I see a lot of people doing it, and I just figured I'd go ahead and try it. So I went ahead and kind of fanned out. Not real great at fanning cards out, but I fanned the cards out, and I picked 5 cards just to see what I could get. Well, as I laid the cards out, it was like they really didn't hit me, pay attention as I was going down the line. And then I laid the last 2 out, and when I laid those last 2 out, the numbers, it was like they jumped at me. They highlighted, and everything else kind of went like fuzzy, and they highlighted. So that was a very, very good indication. So anyway, what I'd gotten um, with this was, first of all, the house. Now let me. The timing question is about my mother. My mother and my aunt are supposed to come down as soon as they can. They want to come back down to see the baby because they stayed down here for about 9 days, and they had to go back, um, for the next day, and they only got to see him for like an hour at most after he was born, and that's the last time they've seen him. So they've been wanting to come back down, but the problem is, between where I live and between where they live, is it's snowing up there, and on the way down they have to come through the mountains, and you're talking about a lot of snow and stuff that's going on there. And oh, they were telling me that they wanted to come down, as soon as possible. And of course, again, they had to have more time off to be able to do that. So what I came up with, first of all, was the house. Very, very telling right there. The house is my thing, is when are they coming down to visit. The house is usually your home and so forth. And then I had the birds. The birds are about talking and communication and so forth. And the thing was, um, a lot about talking about the home, and talking about coming to visit the home, and so forth. It could also be talking about real estate, or something like that. But I got the scythe, and this one kind of confused me at first, and then I done a little bit of research and talked about positive, negative cards, and stuff like that with this deck, which just seems to be cutting away something very swift, a swift action it takes for it. And I got the ship. Okay, the ship, very, very telling. This is always about taking trips, especially a longer trip. A lot of times it'll be overseas, but I'm thinking a longer trip, and for them, they've got to drive probably 5, 6 hours to get down here to see me. And of course, motorized. So right there, very telling sign. And I got the garden about gatherings and people coming together, kind of like a celebration deal and so forth. So that number and that 3, or the number 3 and the number 20, jumped out at me, and I thought, oh, March 20th. And then I thought, okay, March 20th, very indicating. Now, these cards work right along with astrology very, very well. Okay, and not only is that the ship is a timing card, you've also got the timing card here. With this, you can look at it. It looks more like this looks a lot like more of summertime, because everything's already bloomed. Um, but I had that 3 and that 20, and the ship is actually, if I'm thinking correctly, connected with Aries. So, or the timing on this is going to be March. March, April type of deal. Um, and I'm also, one of these cards here, it might be the birds. Need to get the book. See, it hit me, and I was fresh when I first laid it out before I decided to go ahead and do the video, because I it's definitely been some time since I decided to do the video. But another one also, I think it's the birds, and the birds come out to denote springtime. I gotta look that up, make sure. But to me, this is very, very telling. The only thing that worried about me was that central card being that scythe, and a lot of times it's about cutting. It can be about injuries and you know, something of that nature. And I thought, well, that may be a difficulty with the trip, or maybe somebody gets injured, and that may be a problem. But the house and the birds I have is talking about the house and talking about coming down to visit and so forth is the way I picked that up. And then that's what kind of confused me with that scythe there, and the scythe with the birds, or I kind of got like cutting off the conversation, stop talking about it, and making just boom, something quick, done, over with. It's kind of that's through talking about it. And then I would have had the ship and the scythe next to each other, and the ship being making a trips. And I think cutting away here, I think it's going to be something sudden. Suddenly make a decision, such as, I don't know, maybe a weekend decision, okay, or maybe there's a few days off, somewhere in that period, to just take off and go. It's going to have to be. It's going to be something that quick, because the scythe is something that cuts, and you got to use something really quick to cut with. So that's kind of going to be making a trip, basically, on an instant situation. There could be somebody that has some kind of situation, that's been injured or so forth, but things seem to be better. Now, I really don't get that. I'm just saying it's possible. And once they realize everything's okay, they can cut away real quick. So I'm thinking it's going to be something quick, a quick trip, take off and go. And of course, that trip and that garden, and I get the garden as the reunion, and a gathering and so forth of people together. So that's going to be a gathering with a trip to go somewhere where you have a good time and gathering. And it's a lot about giving also. And of course, my mother is huge on, this is her only grandchild, so it's like, makes perfect sense. But then the two end cards I do have here are the home, and this card here, the gathering. And this one here actually has a garden on this deck in the center, and those connect very, very well. It right there with that garden. So there was a strong connection for me personally. And so what I came up with that ship, and with the birds, I get a lot of springtime also. But the whole thing was spring, just simply because of these two jumping out. March 20th, and I wrote that down, of course. So I said, well, okay, maybe March 20th is the day. I said, but no matter if it's not the day, it's still definitely going to be springtime. Well, turns out that is exactly what they're waiting for. They said as soon as they can get down, March or April. Okay, March or April, they're definitely going to come down. They have to make sure that the roads are safe, and there's no snow and dangerous travel or anything. And I think that may have a whole lot to do with that scythe right there, is kind of waiting for that travel and the danger to be over with. Um, may very well be exactly what it is, because everything else seemed to be good, and this seems to be, the talking about, the danger, just and waiting for that danger and possibility to be over with to actually make the trip. And everything is very, very clear on March right there. Now the four house, I'm going to grab the book, or the four is the house, and the ship, actually, I'm going, because it stood out to me first, and then it was the garden. But the ship, the astrological reference is actually Jupiter, but the astrological sign is Aries in the fire element, and this is from March 21st to April 21st, which is the first thing that stood out to me. So definitely March, April deal. And I got 3, and then I had that 20 right there, and I'm thinking, okay, April 20th, or I mean March 20th. So I'll have to see exactly how that works out, but that puts a very, very close time frame in there. Now I can also look up the garden here, but if I'm thinking correctly, let me see what it says. The garden, I don't think, I'm not gonna actually. I'll just hold up because I may just stick my foot in my mouth here. But I'm thinking that it isn't placed with just one specific sign. Okay, yeah, there you go. The garden is Venus, which deals with harmony. The astrological signs it deals with are, of course, are Libra and Sagittarius. Um, so again, there's two different signs, and those are all going to be near the end of the year. So again, that's very, very. It just stood out very strong to me, and I didn't see that being all the way at the end of the year. Okay, and of course that danger that I was talking about being over with before making the trip, and also a danger being talked about. So, very, very key right there. Now, also going back to the house here, the house is actually deals with Taurus, April 21st to May 21st. Okay, so you have March, April, and I have May with this card and this card. Okay, the birds here are actually, if I can find them, I know it's number 12 birds, and the birds actually represent again different signs. Mercury, which is communications, but it's Sagittarius and Capricorn. Now, again, these are the end and the first of the year, and more like December. That did not stand out to me. Okay, that scythe right there, number 10. I was really excited when I first laid this out, especially the way it jumped out at me. And then when I noticed what I felt, and then I looked things up on it, it was pretty much it was on the money. So the number 10 again is the scythe. Again, it deals with Mars or actions. Okay, but it deals with Libra, and the air element, which is September 21st to October 21st. Okay, again, the end of the year, and I know very well it's going to be closer. So I've got two cards that are dealing with springtime. Okay, so springtime was definitely my deal, and I said 320, but it'll definitely be springtime. There's definitely going to be you got a 3 and you got a 4, so March, April. Okay, but 320 stood out to me, so that's very, very strong. Now, I did look up about timing and about homes and moving or travel or trips or anything, and what I found was the first thing that you need to look for if somebody's coming to visit your home or you're talking about real estate or anything is the house. Well, that's the number one card. The next thing, if it's dealing with a trip, the boat or the ship, and right there's the ship. So boom, there it is, very, very clear. The two cards, it talks about at least one card, but you're always looking for the ship. But the ship and the home are definitely in the entire spread right there. So that was very, when I seen it, it was very, very clear for me. That lets me know a little more about these cards where I am learning. My dailies I'll have to see. It seems like I've asked questions with readings and stuff, and these have been really clear, just like the tarot or anything else. It seems to be clearer when I actually ask a question in a reading type deal where I'm reading for somebody else, a tarot reading, and then try these cards. It seems to be a lot more clear than just the daily readings of how the days kind of go on and go and stuff like that. These cards seem to be a lot more clear with me to this point with readings like that. And again, it's just like tarot. You need to be very specific with your questions because your response will be differently. I could have asked, okay, well, will they be coming down in springtime and got a different answer, or summertime and got a different answer. So right there is very, very telling. I got the house and the communication and talking about it, which again we did talk about it. And I think communication, well, if this is going to deal with Mercury, the birds here, Mercury also deals with siblings and things like that. So my mother and my aunt, well, they're siblings right there. Okay, and again, I think the talking about and waiting for the danger to pass. So that's going to be the timing. It turned out really, really well, and I hope everybody enjoyed it. You know, I'll be posting more of these as time goes on and I learn more about how well they work. But I was really, really excited about how that spread came out, especially when I looked it up and found out I need to be looking for the ship and I need to be looking for the house, and there they were, right on the money. So that went great. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be back with more videos.